The giant alien ship hung in the sky like a metal moon. It had shown up 3 days ago without warning. Now it just sat there, silent and scary, blocking the sun over half of North America. Aaron Kelly rubbed his tired eyes. His desk at NASA Mission Control was covered with empty coffee cups and half-eaten sandwiches. As the lead communications expert, he hadn't slept more than 4 hours since the ship arrived. "Anything yet?" asked Dale Fisher, the NASA director. His face looked older than it had last week. Aaron shook his head. "Nothing. We've tried radio signals, laser pulses, mathematical sequences, even old TV broadcasts. They're listening, but not answering." On the main screen, live news showed crowds in cities around the world. Some people held up welcome signs. Others wore gas masks and carried guns. Churches were full. So were bars. "Keep trying," Dale said, patting Aaron's shoulder. "The president is getting pressure to take more aggressive action." "Like what? Shoot at something that big?" Aaron pointed at the ship on the monitor. The thing was nearly 15 miles long. Scientists estimated it had the mass of a small mountain. At that moment, Aaron's computer beeped. A message appeared on his screen. His heart stopped for a second, then raced ahead. "They've answered," he whispered, then louder. "They've answered." The room erupted in noise. People rushed to his station, crowding around. Aaron adjusted his headset and typed commands. "It's coming through on all frequencies. They've hacked our entire communications network," he said. "Routing to main screen now." The big screen flickered. Everyone went quiet. What appeared wasn't what anyone expected. The alien had a body that looked like a tall praying mantis, but with 4 arms instead of 2. Its head was smooth and oval with 3 large black eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. Its skin was a metallic blue-green that seemed to shimmer under the lights. "Humans," it spoke, its voice deep and strangely musical. The words came through clearly in English. "We are the Valkyrie." "They're translating in real time," Aaron muttered, amazed despite his fear. The alien continued. "We have observed your planet for 73 of your years. We have watched your television, your internet, your radio broadcasts. We know everything about you." The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. "And we are not impressed." Aaron felt his stomach drop. "Your technological development is primitive," the alien said. "Your weapons are toys. Your space vessels cannot even leave your own solar system. You fight each other over resources that are abundant in the galaxy. You pollute your only habitable planet. You are divided by invisible lines on your maps, the Yao." Alien leaned closer to whatever camera was recording it. "In short, you are children playing with sticks in the mud while the adults travel between stars." Dale whispered, "My God. We have come to evaluate whether your species deserves to continue developing independently," the alien said. "Based on initial assessment, our answer is no. You require supervision, management, guidance from a superior civilization." The screen went black. Then normal communications returned. The room stayed quiet for almost a minute. Then everyone started talking at once. In Washington, D.C., Susan Wright watched the same transmission from the Pentagon's underground war room. As the newly appointed Secretary of Defense, this crisis had landed in her lap on just her second week on the job. "What are our options?" asked President Ryan Blackwell. At 48, he was the youngest president in recent history. Right now, he looked even younger, scared and uncertain. General Frank Cooper, a tall man with gray hair and a chest full of medals, stepped forward. "Mr. President, I recommend we show force immediately. The longer we appear weak, the worse our position becomes." Susan raised her hand. "With respect, General, what kind of force do you suggest? Their ship is bigger than Manhattan. Our most powerful nuclear weapons might not even dent it." "We have to try something," the general insisted. "They just insulted humanity on global television. The public will demand action." Secretary of State Beth Wilson shook her head. "Military action could be exactly what they want. Proof that we're as primitive and violent as they claim." The president looked at each of them, then at the dozen other advisors around the table. "Other thoughts?" Susan took a deep breath. "Sir, I think they're testing us. They could have attacked already, but they haven't. They started with psychological warfare instead. Explain, the president said. They're gauging our response, Susan continued. If we attack and fail, we prove we're primitive and violent. If we surrender immediately, we prove we're weak. But what if we do something they don't expect? The room went quiet. What if we let them underestimate us? Susan said, her mind racing ahead. We know things they don't. Area 51 isn't just a conspiracy theory. Project Olympus has been developing reverse-engineered tech since the Roswell incident. The Russians have their own programs. So do the Chinese. The president's eyes widened. You're suggesting we play along? Pretend to be more helpless than we are? Susan nodded. For now. We gather information. We prepare quietly. We coordinate globally. And we let them think their psychological tactics are working. General Cooper frowned but stayed silent. It's risky, the president said. If they're serious about taking over, then we still have our secret weapons, Susan finished. But we don't reveal them until we absolutely have to. The president looked at each person around the table. Most nodded slowly. All right, he said, finally. We play it cool. We respond diplomatically, but, he pointed at General Cooper, I want our special projects ready to deploy at a moment's notice. As they filed out of the room, Susan felt the weight of 7 billion lives on her shoulders. The Valkyrie had made their move. Now humanity would make theirs. Outside the White House, people gathered in the streets, looking up at the sky where the alien ship was visible even in daylight, a dark shape against the blue. Fear spread like a virus through the crowd. But soon, very soon, fear would turn to something else. The aliens had mocked humanity. Soon, humanity would answer. A week passed. Across Earth, people tried to return to normal life despite the alien ship hanging in the sky. Kids still went to school. Adults still went to work. But everyone moved like they were in a dream, going through the motions while constantly looking up. On the 8th day, TV and internet signals worldwide were interrupted again. The mantis-like alien appeared on screens everywhere. Humans, the creature said. I am Commander Zextur of the Valkyrie Evaluation Fleet. We have reached a decision about your species. In living rooms, offices, schools, and bars, people stopped to watch. Some prayed, some held hands, some just stared, numb with fear. We do not want your resources, Zextur continued. We do not wish to destroy you. We do not even wish to rule you directly. The alien made that strange laughing sound again. That would be boring. Susan Wright watched from the Pentagon, her fingernails digging into her palms. Instead, we offer you a challenge, the alien said. A game, you might say. The camera pulled back to show 3 more Valkyrie standing behind Zextur. They were all different colors. One red, one purple, one a shimmering silver. All looked down at the camera with those black, empty eyes. We will conduct military exercises in your solar system, Zextur explained. Nothing too destructive. We will not target civilian populations. On screen, a map of the solar system appeared. Red dots moved from Earth's orbit outward toward the moon. You may defend yourselves using any weapons or technology you possess. The alien continued. If you impress us, if you show more capability than we believe you have, we will leave your system and recommend you for eventual membership in the galactic community. The commander's voice grew harder. If you fail to impress us, Earth will become a protectorate under Valkyrie management for the next 1,000 years. For your own good, of course. The screen returned to Zextur. You have 3 Earth days to prepare. Then our exercises begin. Good luck, humans. You will need it. The transmission ended. It's not a game. It's an invasion with an excuse. Greg, Martinez said, pounding his fist on the conference table. At 45, Greg had the weathered face of someone who had seen combat. 20 years in the Navy had left him with scars both visible and hidden. Now he commanded humanity's first real space warship, a fact known to fewer than 200 people on the planet. The meeting room sat 300 feet below the Nevada desert. Around the table were generals, scientists, and government officials from a dozen nations. On screens along the walls, more officials joined remotely. Of course it's an invasion, Susan Wright agreed. But it's also an opportunity. They're underestimating us. That gives us an advantage. An older man with a thick Russian accent spoke up. How can we have advantage? Their ships are century ahead of public technology. Susan smiled. Public technology is the key phrase, General Petrov, as you well know. Everyone in the room understood what she meant. After the Roswell incident in 1947, the world's major powers had recovered alien technology. Working sometimes together, sometimes separately, they had reverse-engineered much of it. The International Space Defense Force was the result. Secret military organization with technology far beyond what the public knew existed. The Valkyrie believe our most advanced weapons are the nuclear missiles and laser systems we've publicly tested, Susan continued. They have no idea about Project Olympus or the Russian Firebird program or China's Dragon-scale technology. So what's the plan? Asked Greg. You've already given me orders to make them work for it, but don't show our full hand. What exactly does that mean? Susan walked to a digital map showing Earth, the Moon, and the approaching Valkyrie ships. We let them land on the Moon. We put up enough of a fight to seem serious, but not enough to reveal our true capabilities. We learn their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. And if they push harder than expected? Asked a woman in a Chinese military uniform. Then we escalate accordingly, Susan replied. But only as much as needed. Our greatest advantage is surprise, and we only get to use it once. 2 days later, Greg stood on the bridge of the ISDF Defiant. The ship remained hidden in a massive, underground hangar beneath the lunar surface on the far side of the Moon. The base had been built over the past 15 years in complete secrecy. Status report, Greg ordered. His second-in-command, Paula Rivers, checked her screens. Valkyrie ships are passing Mars orbit now, sir. 12 vessels in total. Based on size, we think the lead ship is a command carrier. The others appear to be smaller frigates or destroyers. And our forces? All stations report ready, Paula said. The lunar defense grid is on standby. The 6 smaller ships are crewed and ready to launch. Earth's conventional forces are on high alert. Over the ship's communication system, a Valkyrie transmission played. Attention, humans. Your atmospheric craft cannot even leave your gravity well efficiently. Your weapons use primitive chemical propellants. Your most advanced computers are like children's toys to us. Greg turned the volume down. They really love to hear themselves talk, don't they? Paula smiled nervously. Psychological warfare, sir? Well, 2 can play that game, Greg replied. He tapped his console. All personnel prepare for possible engagement in the next 48 hours. Remember your orders. Make them work for it. But don't show everything we've got. Let's give these arrogant aliens a little surprise, but not our biggest ones. Not yet. Deep below the lunar surface, hundreds of men and women prepared for battle, checking weapon systems far more advanced than anything the public had ever seen. Humanity had been preparing for this moment ever since the first real UFO sightings decades ago. The Valkyrie thought they were facing a primitive species armed with rockets and lasers. They were about to learn their first lesson about humans. Never judge a species by its public technology. 3 days later, the Valkyrie ships reached the Moon. They didn't hide their approach. In fact, they broadcast their movements on all frequencies, as if daring Earth to respond. Look at them, said Linda Harrison, staring at the radar screen. They're practically announcing where they'll be and when. They want us to try something. At 38, Linda was the chief weapons engineer for the Olympus project. She had spent 15 years developing technology that officially didn't exist. Her workspace was a large control room inside the secret lunar base buried under the surface on the far side of the Moon. That's because they think all we have are rockets and lasers, Greg Martinez replied, standing beside her. They expect us to fail. They want us to fail. On the main screen, 8 Valkyrie ships moved into formation around the Moon. They were smaller than the mothership that remained in Earth orbit, but each one was still larger than any spacecraft humans had publicly built. The UN Security Council has approved our first phase response. Susan Wright's voice came through on the secure channel from Earth. Remember the plan. Make it look good, but don't reveal our best technology yet. Greg nodded, though Susan couldn't see him. Understood. Operation Trojan Horse is ready. He turned to the room full of technicians and officers. This is not a drill, I repeat, this is not a drill. Execute Operation Trojan Horse. Everyone moved with purpose. No panic, no hesitation. They had practiced this countless times. Launching. Decoys, announced Paula Rivers from her station. She pressed a series of buttons. Across the solar system, old satellites and space debris suddenly changed course. Small engines hidden on these objects activated, pushing them into new orbits. To the Valkyrie sensors, it would look like Earth was desperately trying to form a defensive line using space junk. They're seeing it, Linda confirmed, monitoring the Valkyrie communications. They're laughing at us. Indeed, the alien transmissions were filled with what sounded like amusement. Is this your defense? Moving garbage into our path? One Valkyrie officer said mockingly. Your debris cannot harm our shields. Is this truly your best effort? Greg's face remained stone cold. Let them laugh. Phase 2, begin. Now Earth's official, Space Forces launched into action. The handful of military satellites publicly known to exist fired their small thrusters, moving into attack positions. From Earth's surface, a dozen rockets lifted off, carrying what appeared to be conventional warheads. The Russians have launched their ICBMs, Paula reported. Chinese space-based lasers are powering up. European kinetic weapons are in position. All of this was for show. These were the weapons the world knew about. Dangerous to humans, but little more than annoyances to the Valkyrie. Their shields are up, Linda said. They're not even bothering to dodge. On the main screen, they watched as Earth's official weapons made contact with the alien ships. Nuclear explosions bloomed silently in space. Laser beams bounced off shimmering force fields. Kinetic projectiles hit the shields and disintegrated. The Valkyrie ships were completely unharmed. Your weapons are amusing, came the transmission from Commander Zextur. Like watching a child throw pebbles at a tank. Is this the best your species can offer? Greg looked at Linda and nodded slowly. Phase 3. Linda's fingers danced across her control panel. Gravitational displacement cannons powering up, targets locked. Deep beneath the lunar surface, machines that shouldn't exist hummed to life. They had been built using technology recovered from crashed alien ships over the decades, technology kept secret from the public, and more importantly, from any watching alien eyes. The key is making this look like a lucky shot, Greg said. Like we just happened to stumble onto something that works. Linda nodded. I'm only targeting 3 ships, the ones nearest the dark side where our base is. That way it seems plausible that we have some small facility here that got off a desperate shot. Do it, Greg ordered. Linda pressed the final button. Firing. Nothing seemed to happen at first. No visible beams, no missiles launched. The gravity weapons didn't work like conventional weapons. They simply altered the laws of physics in a targeted area. 3 Valkyrie ships suddenly shuddered. Their sleek hulls began to buckle as invisible forces crushed them from all sides. Metal screamed as it bent inward. The gravitational pull inside those ships was now 1,000 times stronger than Earth's normal gravity. In seconds, the 3 ships imploded, crushed into balls of dense metal no larger than cars. Direct hits, Paula whispered, her voice filled with awe despite all their preparation. All 3 targets destroyed. For the first time since they arrived, the Valkyrie communications fell silent. Now we wait, Greg said. Let's see how they respond to learning humans aren't as helpless as they thought. The remaining 5 Valkyrie ships quickly changed formation, moving into defensive positions. Their casual approach was gone. Now they moved with caution, scanning space around them, frantically for whatever had destroyed their companions. Inside the lunar base, Linda allowed herself a small smile. They expected rocks, we gave them black holes. Greg nodded but didn't smile. This is just the beginning. They'll come back with more ships and better weapons, and they won't underestimate us again. Good, Linda said, her eyes hard with determination. Because we've got plenty more surprises waiting for them. The first skirmish was over. Earth had drawn first blood. But the real battle was just beginning. Commander Zextor slammed his forearms down on the control panel. The metal dented under his strength. "Impossible," he shouted at his officers. "How did they destroy our ships? They are primitives." The Valkyrie command center hummed with nervous activity. Officers checked readings and replayed sensor data of the 3 ships imploding. "Commander," said his second-in-command, a female Valkyrie named Mevrek, "the humans appear to have gravitational manipulation technology. Our sensors detected massive gravitational distortions just before our ships were destroyed." Zextor's 3 black eyes narrowed. "That is impossible. Their public technology is centuries away from gravity control." "Evidently," Mevrek said, "carefully, their public technology does not reflect their actual capabilities." The commander stood silent for a moment. Then he pressed a button on his console. His voice boomed across all Earth's communication channels. "You have violated the terms of our exercise," he said. "Such primitive beings should not possess gravity manipulation technology. You have been hiding your true capabilities. This deception will not be tolerated." In the White House Situation Room, President Ryan Blackwell listened to the alien commander's message with his advisors. "They sound angry," said General Cooper with a small smile. "Good." "Don't celebrate yet," Susan Wright warned. This was just the opening move in a much longer game. The president leaned forward. "What's their next move likely to be?" Before anyone could answer, the room's screens lit up with urgent alerts. The large monitor on the wall showed new images from space telescopes. Dozens of ships were emerging from the massive Valkyrie mothership. "That's their next move," Susan said grimly. "Escalation." The new ships were different from the training vessels. These were clearly designed for war. Sharp, angular, with weapons bristling from every surface. Within minutes, 47 warships formed up in Earth orbit. "Mr. President," Susan said, "we need to address the nation, the world. Everyone needs to know what's happening." Ryan nodded. "Prepare the broadcast room." An hour later, the president sat behind his desk in the Oval Office. Cameras rolled as he addressed not just Americans, but all of humanity. "My fellow citizens of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Today we face the greatest challenge in human history. The Valkyrie aliens have responded to our defensive actions with threats of full-scale war." He paused, taking a deep breath. "For decades, the nations of Earth have maintained a necessary fiction. We have hidden our true space capabilities from public view. This deception was not meant to fool our own people, but to protect our technological advantages from any watching eyes among the stars." On screens around the world, people watched with growing amazement as the president continued. "The International Space Defense Force was formed in secret 50 years ago, after we recovered alien technology from crashed scout ships. The Olympus Project, the Russian Firebird program, China's Dragon Scale Initiative, these and other classified programs have developed weapons and defenses far beyond what is publicly known." He looked directly into the camera. "Today, that deception pays dividends. The Valkyrie thought us defenseless. They were wrong. Around the world, hidden facilities activated. Bunkers built deep under mountains opened massive doors. Underground, hangars revealed spacecraft that shouldn't exist. Soldiers and pilots who had trained in secret for years rushed to their stations. In Nevada, Peter Young stood in a massive underground chamber. 20 stories high and a mile long, it housed 50 sleek black spacecraft, each one shaped like an arrowhead. As the facility commander, Peter had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. "All pilots to your ships," he ordered over the intercom. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Men and women in black flight suits ran to their vessels. These were elite pilots chosen from the best military forces around the world, trained in absolute secrecy. Peter walked to the main control center, a room filled with screens and control panels. "Status report," he demanded. "Valkyrie fleet is deploying in high Earth orbit," reported his second-in-command, Karen Mills. "They're positioning for planetary bombardment. Energy readings suggest their weapons could glass surface entire continents." Energy nodded grimly. Then we don't let them fire first. He pressed the button on his communications panel. Artemis Protocol is now active. Launch countdown begins. Ghost Riders 1 through 50. Prepare for immediate deployment. Throughout the facility, engines hummed to life. The black ships lifted slightly off their landing pads, hovering on invisible forces. "Sir," Karen said, "the president is still trying diplomacy. Shouldn't we wait for his order?" Peter shook his head. "The launch sequence takes 8 minutes. By the time the president gives the order, I want our birds ready to fly." On the main screen, they watched as the Valkyrie ships moved into attack. Formation. Their weapons were powering up, energy readings climbing higher. "Launch countdown at T-minus 5 minutes, the computer announced. Peter stared at the alien ships on the screen. "They came expecting to find prey," he said quietly. "Instead, they found wolves in sheep's clothing." In orbit, the Valkyrie war fleet prepared to fire. Commander Zex Tur stood on his bridge, looking down at the blue planet below. "Target their largest military installations first," he ordered. "Then their governmental centers. Then their power generation facilities." "Sir," said Mevrek, "shouldn't we demand their surrender first?" Zex Tur made the laughing sound again, but there was no humor in it now. "They deceived us. They hid their technology. They destroyed 3 of our ships. There will be no more." "Games! Weapons charged," reported the weapons officer. "Ready to fire on your command." Zex Tur raised his hand, preparing to give the order that would kill millions. But before he could speak, alarms blared throughout the ship. The sensors officer shouted in panic, "Multiple launches detected from Earth's surface. 50. No." Hundreds of objects rising through the atmosphere. "Show me," Zex Tur demanded. The screen changed to show swarms of craft lifting off from hidden facilities around the planet. Some were conventional rockets. Others moved in ways that defied normal physics, partially phasing in and out of reality. The first battle for Earth had ended with a human surprise attack. Now the true war was beginning. Space lit up like a fireworks show. Earth's hidden fleet rose to meet the Valkyrie warships. The black arrowhead ships, the Ghost Riders, moved unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. They flickered in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing as they used their quantum engines. Inside the lead Ghost Rider, pilot Kate Wilson gripped her controls. 10 years of secret training had prepared her for this moment. "All pilots, engage at will," came Peter Young's voice over the comm. "Remember your training. Their shields are strong against conventional weapons but vulnerable to our phase technology." Kate accelerated toward a Valkyrie destroyer. Her ship's computer targeted the alien vessel's engine section. "Firing phase disruptors," she announced. Pulse of blue-white energy shot from her ship. When it hit the Valkyrie shields, instead of bouncing off, it passed through as if the shields weren't there. The alien ship's hull glowed red, then white, then exploded as its engines overloaded. Around Earth orbit, similar scenes played out. Human ships hidden for decades engaged the surprised Valkyrie fleet. Commander Zex Tur watched in disbelief as his ships began to fall. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Scan those human vessels. What technology are they using?" His science officer worked frantically at her console. "They appear to be using quantum phase technology, Commander. Their weapons partially exist outside normal space-time, allowing them to bypass our shields." "Impossible!" Zex Tur slammed his fist down again. "That's 8th-tier technology. These are supposed to be primitives, barely able to reach their own moon." Alarms blared as more Valkyrie ships were hit. The displays showed a dozen vessels already, destroyed or crippled. "We need to adapt," his weapons officer suggested. "Modify our shields to—" A massive explosion rocked the command ship. "What was that?" Zex Tur demanded. "Our forward weapons array is gone," reported the damage control officer. "Something hit us, but sensors didn't detect anything approaching. A billion miles away near Neptune's orbit, Commander Eric Wells smiled on the bridge of the stealth carrier ISDF Phantom. His ship and 5 others had been hiding in the outer solar system for years, equipped with the most advanced technology humanity had developed. "Direct hit," reported his weapons officer. Long-range quantum torpedoes successfully penetrated their flagship's defenses. Eric nodded. Begin the jump sequence. Let's join the party. The 6 massive ships disappeared from Neptune's orbit in flashes of blue light. A heartbeat later, they reappeared in the middle of the Valkyrie formation. Fire everything, Eric ordered calmly. The human ships unleashed a storm of weapons. Some fired gravity beams like those that had crushed the first 3 Valkyrie vessels. Others launched swarms of tiny drones that attached to alien hulls and began eating through them like metal insects. Still others fired weapons that disrupted the molecular bonds holding the alien ships together. It wasn't just the weapons that surprised the Valkyrie. It was the tactics. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting itself. Thousands of years of warfare had taught humans how to think in battle, how to adapt, how to surprise enemies, how to win against superior forces. In the White House situation room, Susan Wright watched the battle unfold on the screens. "It's working," said General Cooper with undisguised glee. "We're actually beating them." "Not yet," Susan cautioned. "They still have their mothership, and we don't know what it's capable of." As if in response to her words, the massive Valkyrie mothership began to move. Its engines glowed as it positioned itself to enter the battle. "Ma'am," said a communications officer, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the mothership. It appears to be charging its main weapon." Susan leaned forward, eyes fixed on the screen. "Is the viral payload ready?" "Yes, ma'am. Commander Wells is in position." Susan nodded. "Give him the green light." On the Phantom, Eric received the message. "Viral payload authorized. Hacking team, you're up." In a specialized compartment of his ship, 6 men and women sat surrounded by computers unlike anything publicly known on Earth. They had spent years studying the fragments of alien computer code recovered from crashed ships. Now they activated a program designed to infiltrate and corrupt Valkyrie systems. As the Phantom closed with the Valkyrie mothership, the hackers sent their signal, a digital virus built to bypass alien firewalls and shut down their weapons. "Virus, away," reported the lead hacker. Making contact with their systems now. On the Valkyrie mothership, chaos erupted. Screens flickered, weapons powered down, doors opened and closed randomly. "We're being hacked," shouted the science officer. "Some kind of digital virus has bypassed our security protocols." Zexatur watched, helplessly as his ship's systems failed around him. "This cannot be happening," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You are a planetary species. You cannot have mastered quantum tunneling or gravitational manipulation. You cannot have faster-than-light technology or computer systems advanced enough to hack our networks." His communication panel lit up. A human face appeared on screen. Susan Wright, looking directly at him with steady eyes. "Commander Zexatur," she said calmly, "this is Secretary of Defense Susan Wright. I suggest you order your remaining ships to stand down." Zexatur stared at the human. "How?" he demanded. "How did you hide all this from us?" Susan's expression didn't change. "We've been killing each other for thousands of years, Commander. In doing so, we became very, very good at developing weapons and keeping secrets. While you traveled the stars, mocking lesser species, we prepared for the day we might meet someone like you. We just didn't show our work." Around the mothership, the remaining Valkyrie vessels were being destroyed or disabled one by one. With their flagship's systems compromised, they had no central command. "We surrender," Zexatur said finally. "Call off your attack." Susan nodded. "Wise decision. Withdraw your forces beyond the orbit of Pluto. You have 6 hours." 3 days later, a different alien ship arrived in Earth orbit. Unlike the angular, threatening Valkyrie vessels, this one was smooth and silver, shaped like a perfect sphere. "Greetings, people of Earth," came a gentle voice over all communication channels. "I am Ambassador Zalara of the Galactic Council. I apologize for the behavior of the Valkyrie. They acted without our authorization, seeking to claim your world for themselves." In the Oval Office, President Ryan Blackwell met with Susan Wright and the other leaders who had guided Earth through the crisis. "What happens now?" the president asked. Susan smiled. "Now we take our place among the stars. not as children to be guided, but as equals to be respected. Outside, people looked up at the night sky with new eyes. Humanity had faced its first alien challenge and emerged victorious. The stars were no longer just distant lights. They were destinations, filled with both danger and promise. And humanity was ready for both. As Captain Kate Wilson prepared her Ghost Rider for a patrol around Earth's new defensive perimeter, she thought about the Valkyrie commander's surprised face. The aliens had mocked humanity, thinking they were dealing with primitives. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity had answered, and the galaxy had heard.